What's up, everybody? It's Janae Chandel, and today I'm here with my father, Michael Johnston. So I surprised him today, and I came and I cooked dinner, but he did not know that instead of bringing a gift, I was bringing an interview for him, right, for Father's Day. So I kind of side blinded him a little bit, but I thought it would be fun to ask him some questions, around being a father and just dive a little bit into fatherhood and his thoughts on it. Today is Father's Day. It's officially June 16, 2024. And so I just want to get his thoughts on some things and, have this memory to play back to him, in a year or two from now, 10 years from now, whenever, and also just to share some things with the world and with other fathers that may be watching as well. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. I got a list of questions for my dad. He's not prepared. So these are definitely gonna catch him off guard, but I'm ready to do this, and I hope you're ready too. Are you ready? Are you open?
Let's get it started.
And we're gonna see. So first off, let me just say that my father, he is man, he's been an entrepreneur for a long time. He's in the counseling field. He's been counseling people for a really long time. So he's been, working with recovering addicts, working with families, just a whole lot of different people. Writing his own novel, his own book about his life. Just a lot of things. My father has always had his hands in a lot of different things. And so a lot of what I get from him is having that don't quit spirit and always being ready to, attack the next project and never being afraid and going after it. So I get that from him. So he's always reinventing himself, and that's what I learned, to reinvent myself and just go into my next stages of life with grace and giving myself grace and not being so hard on myself about the last stage in life.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So my first question to you is, what does being a father mean to you?
Wow, that's a good question. So, being honest, I don't think that in the early stages of being a father, in regards to Janae, I was with her mother, but I don't think that I was as present as I should have been at that stage of my life.
Okay.
I think for me personally, I was struggling with, at the time, addiction and stability. Her mother probably was more stable than I was. And if it wasn't for her mother, she probably wouldn't have gotten this far where she's at as a child. I think from the day she was born, I was just talking about this the other day. I had found some money like the day she was born.
So I'm a lucky baby.
I'm
good luck.
So in New York, we don't drive everywhere. We take trains to work and then we leave our cars home. And so I had found some money like the day she was born at the hospital she was born at in the Bronx called Our Lady of Mercy. But back then I was struggling with addiction. I was struggling with, I always had a good job. And so that, I believe, had an impact on my relationship with her mother and her. But from the beginning, I knew I knew when she was young that she was going to be focused and have a direction. And I even feel like that about my other daughter. Like, girls are different than boys. Boys, we arrive later. Girls, they focus from the door.
So let me go back one. So my dad has 3 kids.
That's correct.
I'm his firstborn. I'm not gonna tell y'all my age. Then I have my brother who is 25, which correct. I don't know how he jumped to 25 from 21.
That's
and
correct.
Then I have a younger sister that's 11. So there's a bit of age difference between us all, but he has 2 girls and 1 boy. So you kind of touched on my next question, which was gonna be, how did it feel being a father for the first time? How did that feel for you? But do you feel like being a father is like a part of your identity now? When I ask you, like, how does being a father, what does it mean to you? Do you feel like that's part of your identity? Like, being a black man is a part of your identity, and is being a father part of your identity now? Like, when you just think of yourself and you describe yourself, do you feel like that's one of the things you include?
This is one of those areas I think that is a sticky area for me. With Janae, I feel like her mother really carried the burden of raising her, even though I was present. And we had a relationship, and we did things. How God's dealt with me was he gave me a son and made me a single parent. And that was a wake-up call for me. Having a child, I'm in school, I'm going to work, and if it wasn't for his grandmother, Penelope Bowe, I would have never been able to raise my child on my own. And to be honest with you, I was scared to death. But in regards to heaven, my baby, who's 11 this year, I really feel like that's an area that I really struggle with improvement, and that I'm determined like to get better. And my relationship with her mother has been a challenge. But me and her, we have a connection. I just believe some of the stuff that's occurred between me and her mother has kind of like affected me and her relationship. So it's almost like I did an okay job with Janae. I definitely did a better job with my son Michael. But then with heaven, I'm still working on getting better.
Getting better. So, what do you think your challenges and difficulties have been along the way in parenthood in general? Like, do you feel like communication has been a challenge for you as being a parent? Like, what are the challenges? Or do you think that money has been a challenge in being a father, or just distance? Because we always been long distance, you and I, since the 90s. But of course, you had little Mike, which was he was with you. So, do you think what are some areas that you think were challenges? Distance, money, communication, time. What would you say?
So I'm gonna give some props to Janae's mother and her family. So her mother, her uncles, and them. We grew up together. I knew them when I was young. Uncle Vic, Doug, Dwayne, like Bunny, like I knew them. Trey, like I grew up with them, so I knew them before Janae was even born. With my son's family, his mother was murdered, and so I had to develop a relationship with them independently. With Heaven's family, it was more because her mother's from another country. It was much more of a challenge, and the distance. I do believe so I'm one of these people, I don't believe that distance should interfere with a relationship with your child or with a person. Love has no distance, as far as I'm concerned, in regards to my participation. I think sometimes issues become the real precipice of the challenge in having a relationship with your children or their families. And there's been things that I probably would have taken back that I said to people or to Heaven's mother that I would take back, just based on how I feel. I think sometimes that that people view me in a way that I presented myself in the past, financially, emotionally,
so
from a job, and they still stuck in that time of the kind of person I was back then, and I'm not that person no more. I've made $100,000 in my lifetime more than once, and so I don't have as much as I had then. But what I have now, I'm happier with than what I had when I had a lot. So be careful of all that glitters is gold is temporary. Like, you want peace or you want money.
So you feel like you've grown a lot as a person and as a father, but people don't always see you in the present moment in that growth spot that you're in. They're still looking at the old person that you used to be, the old father that you used to be, the old Michael that you used to be, instead of where you are now.
And not just that, I don't think that people have evolved along with my journey. I think that you're stuck.
People evolve at different rates. They grow up at different rates. They mature at different rates.
The difference between me and how I respond to it now is I don't respond to stuff that I would have responded to back in the day the same way. And I kind of just separate myself from that, because for me, it's all about, like, how do I maintain my peace?
Okay, so tough question, right? Did you accept that all your kids were yours when your children's mother first told you that they were pregnant?
So, with Janae, well, let me back up. Her mother, so I'm going to tell a story. I don't even know if Janae knows. I don't even know if Janae knows the story. So I used to work in Manhattan, in the Wall Street area, in downtown Manhattan. My mother was pregnant with another child, but she wound up having a miscarriage. So that's kind of how it started. And then here came Janae.
So you knew I was yours.
I knew that. So with my son Michael, I knew that was my child, but I don't feel like we were stable in our relationship at the time.
You and his mother.
Right, and she, to be honest with you, she was struggling with a heroin addiction, and I actually wound up getting custody of him because of when she had my son. You know, he had traces of opiates in his bloodstream. And as far as heaven, now with heaven is like my special child. So me and her mother had been together for a couple years. They threw a party for me in Jamaica on my birthday.
I remember that.
And she had never gotten pregnant before that. And she wound up getting pregnant on my birthday. And 9 months.
It was a good night. It was a good night for him.
It was a good night, and the party was lit. It was an all Miami Vice Jersey party. But 9 months later, she had my daughter on July 4th. Fireworks going off in the Pocono Mountains, and here comes heaven. So that's how that played out.
So, what are 3 things that you wish you could have done better as a father? What are 3 things you think you would name that you could have done better as a father?
Wow.
Or wish you could have done better as a father?
So I'm going to talk about Little
Mike.
Mike.
Or differently.
With Little Mike, I felt like even though he was a really good kid, and he's never been a challenge, I call him the therapist. He's really good at giving feedback. I would have had more activities for him that I would have participated in. You know, I'm always around parents with their kids and activities. Right. I think that because my life was so full, and I was in school, and I had my own business and working a lot.
Wish you could have been more hands-on and plan more things for him.
Absolutely.
More.
With you, I felt like we should have had more trips together. And so I see when Janae was born, and I would go get her. I felt like if I didn't have money, I didn't want to show up.
Right.
Or I didn't want to participate.
Right. That's real.
So the money used to get in the way of my relationship with her.
Right.
I'll say that I felt like the person I was married to, or a woman that I was involved with, I think sometimes she felt that got in the way of, like I put that before, or that was a priority over us. Which wasn't the case. With heaven, I wish that me and her mother had a better communication because of her age and because we're in different stages of life. I feel like she doesn't understand where I'm at and some of the challenges that I'm dealing with. And so, like, I remember when we went to we had the family reunion in Georgia. I had planned a reunion. No, I didn't plan it. They planned it for us
to come to Atlanta.
And so I had been anticipating taking to heaven. Janae, my son Michael, all of us down to this reunion, and she turned around and reneged on me, and I felt some kind of way. And so, but one of the things I've learned about with Janae, which is happening with heaven, is if you wait long enough, the relationship you want with your child, it will happen because they'll get to an age where they can make their own decisions and that the parent. So when Janae got to like 12, 13, 14, I didn't really have to talk to her mother. It was like several years I didn't even talk to her mother because I was talking directly to Janae.
Right. I was old enough then.
She was old enough to have her own relationship with me. Heaven and me, I believe there's been times that heaven has communicated stuff to me individually, privately, confidentially. Her mother didn't know, and she's at the precipice where we can have our own relationship separately, away from her mother.
She's not young anymore. So let's switch to a positive note. What are 3 things that you think you've done right as a father, or 3 examples of you doing something right as a father?
Well, having, I say, is being present for her birth.
Okay.
Because out of all 3 of my kids, I've never seen a childbirth in my life.
Heaven was the first one?
Heaven's mother,
Wow.
Artie,
I didn't know that.
Rosie. So one of the things that happened when Rosie was pregnant was she was in labor. We went to the hospital. They sent us back home, and so I watched us going to the medical center in Poconos, and I watched her have heaven and so for me, I heard other women screaming in the
oh no,
going crazy and
that's
Arnie,
why I haven't had no kids yet. Talking about the screaming
Arnie,
part, I don't think so.
Rosie, I'm gonna say Rosie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I told her after the birth, so I was there to witness it, and to me it was like my first child. Like I had my first child because I had never witnessed childbirth in my life. And I told her mother, I said, whatever I've said to you in the past, like that was some gangster, shit, because I never seen nothing like that before. And I just thought she was like special in regards to women and how we treat black women. Like that was special, and I felt like she deserved like all her props because she handled that like a soldier.
Yep.
And so with little Mike's mother, I was there, but I wasn't there. And with Janae, her mother had a baby, but it was like a cesarean, and they didn't.
Oh yeah.
It was different. It was a whole different situation.
Okay, so we know that being a father can be a full-time job, and you talked about, you were raising little Mike as a single parent. So what goals do you think that you may have put off while you were being a dad that you would like to get back to now that everybody's kind of like growing up? You still got the youngest, which is Heaven, but you have a little bit more freedom now to like move through the world as you.
For myself individually?
Yeah, so what are some goals that you might have put off while you were being a full-time dad, or while you were being a dad to me, that you think you want to get back to now?
Jesus.
Or dreams that you had then that you put off for your children that you would like to get back to now?
Well, so now I think that me and Janae's relationship has evolved to a point where we understand each other. I think in the beginning it was more like misunderstandings. I think with my son, he's always been the kind of person that doesn't really stay in contact with people and communicate a lot. But I think as he grows up and he has his own family, that he'll lean on me more. And so I would like to do more with him, or spend more time with him as an adult. Now that is like my son.
So is that one of your goals, is to have a different type of relationship with your son?
With him. So one of the things.
So what about in your professional life, or your
Before I say that, one of the things that's evolved with me and Janae is that our relationship has evolved from being a father and daughter to friends, a friendship. My son is at the precipice of becoming my friend and not my son. Heaven is we're still developing our relationship from a father and daughter, and I know at some point it will surpass that stage. So there's stages of being a parent and a child, and me and Janae are down the road. Me and Heaven are still on our way. And as far as my professional?
Yeah, professional goals.
So I'm one of those
hobbies that you had that you would like to pick back
individuals.
up. Like I know you got pianos and guitars
I'm one of those individuals. I'm not satisfied with just settling for like this is the lifestyle that I'm living.
Okay.
And one of the things I think that me and Janae have in common is she's always been driven. She's always trying to reinvent herself. She always got other goals, and she's always trying to strive for more. And so one of my things is I've worked in jobs where I know that my skill set is better than what I'm doing, and trying to maximize who I am. And so from my past, from owning my own business to having a master's degree to working for people in management positions, it's very difficult for me to be in roles employment-wise or any type of wise where I'm underachieving who I am, and I know that I'm better than what I'm doing. So now one of my things is, motivational speaking. I have a bucket list.
Used to do. Yep.
I've done a lot of speaking, and I understand that one of my superpowers, because that's what I call it, is speaking. My bucket list is like, I like acoustic guitars. I like keyboards. One of my goals is to be in a healthy relationship with somebody, and that my kids actually know that I'm happy with the person I'm with. So one of the things I constantly say in meeting someone is, I'm a good man, but I'm a better man with a good woman. And so me and my criteria and my pickiness may have, sidetracked that. But I do believe that, at 63, going on 64, that I've been fortunate in that my time, I really believe that this is my season for meeting the right person, that I'll have a healthy relationship and be able to develop something long term. My kids,
I want that for you.
And I know my kids want it. And this is the embarrassing part. I'm the person that takes. I'm always the third wheel taking pictures of all the couples. I'm always the person that is not in a relationship.
Yeah, we want you to find your person.
So my daughter has a relationship. My son had one for several years, and Heaven's too young to have one. But I'm like, and I got this other pet peeve about, I'm probably the only 63-year-old male that don't have grandkids. And so that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that one is to me. All right, so, we talked a little bit about some things you wish you can change. So, parents sometimes have their own traumas and things that they haven't dealt with from their past. And sometimes that bleeds over into how they raise their children or the relationships they have with their children. So do you think that us as the children, do you think that we should give parents more grace and forgiveness, or do you think that there's a limit in how much you should forgive a parent just because they're your parent?
So from a standpoint of me being a child and looking at the parents that raised me and judging them, I have a different view, a different filter now than I did when I was younger, because I have my own reference point. I got my own history. So I'm sort of like, the same things that I was seeing and doing to my parents that raised me are the same things that are current. So I had this thing about, be careful how you judge other people in their situations, because you find out that you might find yourself in the same situation, not just from a family or parent standpoint, but from a professional standpoint too. I've been in positions where I was like the worker, and then I was the manager, and I did the same thing the other person did by judging them. And so, from a parent standpoint, I just think that...
Do we owe you guys unlimited forgiveness, or is there a limit?
I have an expression. I think that forgiveness is necessary even if it's unforgivable. I think that it's necessary that we forgive people for whatever transgressions, because you never know what a person is going through and the challenges that they're dealing with at that time. And I've been in places where I couldn't believe what was happening to me and didn't forgive myself, and not understanding that one of the things about mistakes and challenges and obstacles is that we always look at what happened to you. I'm always looking at what happened to me or what happened to you, but we're not looking at where the activating event came from. Like, where did it start? Like, what happened to me to get me from here to there? And I don't think people are interested in the story. They're just looking at the end. And that's what we kind of missed, the whole, like, Janae just wake up today and say, I should smack somebody in the face. She felt like that about some other stuff that happened before.
Well, I do think that it's good to forgive a parent, but I do think that it has to be in a healthy way, and it has to be communication, and it has to be that this person or this parent is not causing you harm, whether it's emotionally or physically or mentally, because I do think there is a limit, and at some point you have to decide whether you're going to protect yourself or continue to keep letting a person cause you harm, even if it is a parent. But I do think that parents get a little bit more leeway because it's a different type of relationship.
I agree.
It's not just a relationship with a sibling or with somebody, a friend or whatever. It's a different type of relationship. it's a different type of bond. So I feel like, you know, you have given more opportunities to work on it. It basically is having the opportunities to work on it. But everybody has to mature first in order for that to happen, and be willing to admit their faults or their wrongs, or admit what they could have done better in a situation in order for like a positive relationship to develop.
I agree. So it's kind of
even going to your own relationship with your own parents.
It's two parts to what you're talking about. I agree with you 100%. So one of the things I realized with you, with heaven, especially you in heaven, I've had to come to some kind of understanding that these are some of the things that I could have did better. Mm-hmm. The flip side is, as a son with a parent, I'm down here in Charlotte, North Carolina, because I met my mother through a DNA test. Mm-hmm. But the mother and father that raised me have passed on. But because I was trying to develop a relationship with her, there were some things that I didn't particularly care for in a relationship, and I'm sure she got issues with me, that I had to step back from her and love her from a distance, because I realized that our relationship is not going to develop and blossom into what I had.
An idealized version of what you wanted.
So sometimes when we meet parents, or we develop a relationship with parents later on in life, and they really haven't participated, sometimes we have this fantasy of what we think that it should look like. And so the difference is, I grew up with Janae. Mm-hmm. The difference is, I didn't grow up with my biological mother.
Right.
So I've had to come to some kind of realization, and I understand now that I didn't come to Charlotte for her. I came for me and my relationship with my kids.
Right. So, hard question.
Oh, here we go.
Do you feel like you accept responsibility for any trauma or negative experience that you may have unintentionally caused for any of your children?
Absolutely. So, with Janae, I'm gonna say that back then I was a lot more self-centered and a lot more self-absorbed in my career, school, my relationship or my marriage.
And I will say, one thing that I realized as I got older is that, you know, a lot of times being the first child for parents are a lot of times very young when they have their first child. And we forget that as the children, that also the parents are growing up and maturing and learning.
Absolutely.
So it's a learning experience. So, you know, to me, I know now that things are never going to be perfect with the first child, because they're growing up and the parent is growing up too, and learning and making mistakes. And so having that space and grace to do that is essential. But in the moment as a child, you're not understanding that. And so it's difficult to
process.
Right. And to like just get over things. But then as you get older, you understand the position that your parents were put in at the time, you know, whether it was money, not having enough money to take care of you as a child, or pay the bills, or keep a roof over your head, or feed you, or travel, or buy birthday gifts, or whatever the case may be. And then again, like I said, dealing with...
Or just show up for a graduation.
Yeah. And then, like I said, dealing with their own issues and trauma of the relationships that they had with their parents, because, you know, you were adopted, so you had a relationship with your adopted parents, but you also had relationship with your biological father.
Abandonment issues.
Right, so you had a relationship with your biological father who you lost at a young age, and then you just found your biological mother at
50-something years old.
You know, a long time. So there's a lot of things that you dealt with, or things that you maybe didn't get as a child, like, you know, certain things that you didn't receive as a child that you couldn't know how to give to us if you didn't get those things as a child too, that you learned later in life.
Agree.
And then even like for my mom too as well, you know, her parents struggled with alcoholism and domestic violence and other things of that nature. And so her being able to raise us off the trauma that she was so I think that sometimes as kids we have to understand the things that our parents also went through, not giving them a pass, but giving them grace to say, okay, I want to try to understand where you're coming from as my parents, so that we can like move forward.
So now to her point, and it's funny you should bring this up. So I don't even know if Janae knows this. So as a young adult, I didn't even understand like the trauma and all of the issues that I had experienced. So I wind up opening up a counseling business, and it blew up and it took off. But prior to that, I was in counseling addressing some of the very things that she's talking about right now. And she may not have known that, her mother may not have known that, but I knew that there was some stuff going on from my childhood up until I became an adult that I needed. So to her point, I don't think that when I was younger that I was equipped to understand the responsibility and my participation in being a father. And still today, I'm still learning and adjusting with my 11-year-old and trying to get my personal feelings. But with Janae, I just was inexperienced. So when I have conversations with Heaven's mother, I just be like, does she understand that I just didn't raise a child, but I had a child before that? And so I understand what she's talking about. But sometimes I don't think that what you talked about, giving grace to me, I believe she's giving me grace. But I believe that sometimes she doesn't understand that that a lot of things happen along the way, and we're still healing from some of the damage that was done over the years and trying to mature. And she's younger than me, so from a maturity level, we're in different places, and I'm trying to like let go. And so, but the good thing is, your kids, my kids and me, I believe at some point develop our own relationship. And I think that's what people don't understand. No matter what happens over here, like, it's just about me and you.
Right. All right, so I got 3 more questions for you.
Take your time.
And they're going to be more light. Let's go light and fun. Let's go light and fun. Okay, so how do you think being a girl dad is different from being a dad to your son?
So let me be clear.
You're a girl dad times 2.
Let me be clear.
Versus being a dad to your son.
Let me be clear.
Because you had to buy me doll houses and Tweety Bird stuff. And how did you feel about girl dad versus a dad to your son?
So let me be clear. And I say this all the time. And I don't mean no disrespect. And my son just called not too long ago. I raised my son, by myself, on my own. And I love my son. He's a good kid. He's never done anything that I had to go to school for, anything. Like, good kid. But I love my son. But as long as I'm living, I'm in love with my daughters. I will rock with them all day. I don't care what the schematics look like. I don't care what has happened already. I'm in love with my daughters, and most men want sons to continue the legacy. That was never my story. From the beginning, I wanted a girl first, and so when Janae was born, I was like, yeah. So Janae, when she was little, there was an energy that was around her when I would take her places, and I fed off that energy. The same energy is what I used to get when I was with Heaven. There's a different energy when you're a father with a daughter, than when you with a son with as a father. And I don't think
different dynamics.
It's a different dynamics. And like I love the energy. I feed off of it. I'm addicted to it, and so just for me all day, I'm going rock with my daughters.
So, outside of forgiveness from your kids, have you forgiven yourself?
Absolutely, I had to.
Was it difficult for you to feel like you forgave yourself, or were you hard on yourself for a long time about anything that transpired in the past?
So one of the things I'll say is that sometimes we can have so much, and I've been in a position where I had everything, but I had nothing. I had cars, attractive wife, house in Florida, great jobs. But what happened was I couldn't hear God's voice anymore. I couldn't hear anything because I had so much stuff around me that it was choking me and distracting me. And so, and I would even say it's probably spirits in my house. Like, it was just at a point where I couldn't hear or see nothing, because it was so much going on. So one day I just prayed and said, I just need to be able to be normal again. And God took everything away and put me in a place where I could only hear God's voice. And that's where I had to deal with forgiving me. And so when I was there, I could hear clearly, and I went through a month where I didn't sleep for an entire month or two because I just was trying to wrap my mind around everything that was happening. And in the end, I had to forgive myself to move on.
Yeah.
Because I was full of myself. So one of the things about being what's the word I'm looking for? Self-centered and selfish and self-absorbed is that, and I don't think everybody's had that experience. That sometimes God has to break you or humble you and put you in a place where you have to hear His voice.
Right.
And so I heard everything then, and then I said to myself, I remember saying to my cousin Portia, I never want to find myself in this position again ever in life. And then from there, I started to heal. And then I started to work on myself because I really believe I was stuck for a minute, just like trying to accept like the disappointment. And so I don't think everybody has the ability to look at themselves and be honest and say like, you know what?
Having a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
you
funny.
gotta be honest enough to have self-reflection.
You gotta be honest enough.
And self-talk with yourself if you ever really gonna like grow past,
and so I had to grow up, or either I was gonna grow up, or I was gonna wind up dying where I was at.
Now, I would ask you the question of who's your favorite child. We're not trying to start no beef, Lil Mike and Heaven. We ain't trying to start no beef.
However, I could answer some of that.
You're not supposed to have no favorite child.
No,
You're supposed to say no comment.
I would answer it.
Supposed to say no comment. Okay, so this question. This is my last question. What excites you about the future as a father, and what troubles you? What's one thing that excites you about the future as a father, and what's one thing that might trouble you about the future?
One thing that's exciting to me right now is that I know that Heaven is going to be transitioned into an age where we can have a relationship ourselves.
Gotcha.
And so I feel like
You're excited about that point.
Let me say this. I'm clear that I could have done better over the last couple of years. I think that sometimes, her mother is still stuck in who I used to be. And not even that. I don't think she understands where I'm at this stage in my life. And that's just being
But I think you understand that.
I do.
You have to give people time, I guess, to forgive you in their own time to
I do.
move past that. But like you said, Heaven is growing older, and she's going to get to the point where you can have a relationship outside of having to contact her mother.
One of the things about forgiveness, I've had to forgive people too, and how I felt that they did me during different situations, even if I was the cause of it.
Well, I like the saying where they say sometimes you have to accept an apology that you'll never get.
Absolutely. Because
you have to be okay with the apology that you'll never get. Because sometimes you won't get it from people.
It may never come.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. Because in the end, my relationship with Heaven is all that matters. With little Mike, I feel like as he gets older, it's going to improve. With you, I'm probably, out of all three of my kids, I'm probably the happiest with you because, first, because you're firstborn, and you're a female, and, and you remind me of me in some ways. And so I feel like my career is reinventing itself and evolving. You're evolving and reinventing yourself. And I feel like we're on a path where we're going to wind up maybe 10 or 15 years being able to say like we did it.
Yeah. Like, do you remember when? Way back when?
Right.
That's what everybody loves to say.
So,
what's one thing that might trouble you about the future, or one thing you might be afraid of
that
about the future?
That I won't live long enough to see it. That's my health.
Okay.
I've been fortunate that God has blessed me to have very good health.
Right.
And, but I've had, one of the things about getting older, and your mother's an example of that, is like, shit happens.
Yeah, that's true.
And things happen. That concerns me. So, and I just had this conversation with a friend of mine. I don't think that people understand that even though I'm not 80, but I still feel like there's a sense of urgency for certain things to materialize in my life, whether it's my career, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing a book, whether it's a relationship, that I feel that I'm at a a precipice where it's my time.
Right.
This is my season.
Yeah.
And I know it. I know it's happening.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live the rest of my life by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
understand.
You and my mom both say the same thing, and I think you guys are both at a turning point in your lives where like this is going to be y'all season moving forward.
Absolutely. So when I was 30, I wasn't even just thinking about nothing like that because I was so arrogant and full of myself. But I was like, I'm good. I'm good with living by myself, being a bachelor. But at 63, things change.
If something happened in the middle of the night,
you see yourself in an emergency, and you're sitting there filling out an application saying who's your emergency contact, and you don't have one.
Right.
Or you fill out an application at a job, who's your emergency contact? My child. And I'm like, well, so you realize like as a person, like I don't have a partner, I don't have a mate, I don't have anybody to be responsible for me.
Right.
And that's an issue.
Right, yeah. It can be scary. It can be scary. All right, so I appreciate you indulging me on Father's Day and allowing me to grill you. Instead of grilling out, I'm grilling you.
Absolutely.
And, even though I did kind of, I ain't going to say trick. Trick is a strong word. Even though I kind of smoothed you over by cooking for you first and bringing whiskey.
Yeah.
I knew you wouldn't say no to me after I brought you whiskey.
Set me up with the bourbon first.
Yeah, I knew once I brought him whiskey and bourbon, he wasn't going to say no. But I appreciate you allowing me to question you and just get a little bit of insight. Yeah, so when I came over here, he was watching the game when I got here.
The female WNBA game.
Yeah, the WNBA is hot right now. Everybody be on it. So I appreciate you having a conversation with me and being open enough to answer my questions and digging a little bit more deeper than the surface. So, yay, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Talk to you later. Peace.